G'day there. Today we're going to be looking at one of my favourite gambits, one of my favourite ways of playing for many years, and it really does show you in the development. It emphasises, the more impulse in your position, the better. Now it comes from the Scotch game, D4 here, and the typical response is to lop it off. And bishop c4, you're staying ahead of your opponent in the numbers of pieces. Now we've got the center of gravity at f7 once again. I mean, all your pieces are trying to focus on that. So this is the Haxo the Haxo Gambit, and that's what we're going to talk about. Not the Scotch Gambit with bishop c4. It's the c3 line. Now, then you immediately take and attack the king if they accept your gambit. And the idea is the half-open d file now for your queen. So, just absolutely gorgeous move right here. And the loose bishop, and really you're connecting weaknesses. And this move here, you've still got the bishop to lop off, but it's about weakening the a1 to h8 diagonal, the long dark diagonal. So if they do blunder and play g6, they don't have to. They can just move the king, and then you lop off the bishop. So it's a really good principle of testing your opponent and inducing weaknesses if you can. So obviously that loose rook is the bunny rabbit. And the Haxo Gambit, we'll go over it one more time, but it's a really good way of showing impulsing and development to get your momentum. And so you've got that typical lines, which is bring with the Italian and Spanish, but with the Scotch Gambit, what's actually happened is you've got two pieces developed with the potential to attack the cog, that weak square, and the king, which is the major cog. And so what's actually happening with the Haxo Gambit is it's about opening up lines. It's about once again it's about giving your pieces momentum. Now it activates, it increases it creates momentum for the queen, because the queen wasn't attacking their side of the board until you played c3. It's the most logical move, because the material doesn't matter. What matters is the momentum here. And so suddenly you've got three pieces, and you've got the bishop, and once the queen is able to get some momentum, and that's what development is about. That's what c3 was about. It wasn't, and it's also threatening to get a pawn center. So it's threatening c takes d, and to get a hefty game. And there's also sorts of benefits to playing c3. It's the fact that the queen can come out and look for diagonals, can combine with that bishop, and the fact that even sometimes black will even advance the pawn straight ahead there. So I just want to talk to you about that idea about opening lines is about creating momentum for more pieces. You see, so that's what development is in a way. Development isn't just because development is we've discussed that in the DMT in the development momentum theory, but it's about that pawn, that c pawn is irrelevant. What's relevant is the fact that the queen has gone from no activity, squares attacked in their territory, to having squares, to having momentum. That's what development is about. It's about creating momentum for your pieces, and it's about creating momentum against that cog. And the Haxo Gambit is something, I think I've won about 20 or 30 games with the Haxo Gambit, which is pretty significant, I'm sure you'd agree. And also another thing that is happening is that bishop is it's the principle of two weaknesses. Once the opponent has played bishop c5, that bishop is no longer defended. It's not defended, so it is a minor cog. Loose pieces are a minor cog, and the king is a major cog. And so you're able to, it's not just about getting momentum, it's about how centers of gravity, these weaknesses affect your momentum. So, you know, the pushing that c pawn in the Haxo Gambit, it means that you've got three pieces that are quite active against the f7, instead of, because the knight also can play to attack f7 within one move, within one radial. So, you know, development is force times a change of time. Okay, you know, or you could call that dynamic tempo, or a change of tempo. Like how it's about doing things with the least amount of wastage. Like, it's instead of moving in two squares, you know, I mean, because the queen has no way of attacking the king until the bishop sacrifices, and you're converting. What's actually happening is you've converted that f7 to a minor cog to a major cog, exposing the king. And you're not worried about sacrificing the bishop in this position, because you also have the minor gravity pulling on the pieces with that loose bishop. So it's actually sort of thinking about it like weaknesses are pulling the pieces, affecting their momentum and where they go. And so once again, the queen could just take the bishop, but we see the queen goes and tries to ruin their structure and expose even more weaknesses, the loose rook being another weakness. Okay, so the bishop is still on. Right? So it's what's actually happening when you play the queen to h5 check. It's an acceleration of your position. Threats, checks, and captures. You're actually accelerating your momentum. It's like the queen is speeding up, getting more velocity, more force. Force is obviously the value of the queen, all right, times a change in its squares, like its activity in their half, and over a change of tempo. So, you know, and how long it takes. So, forcing moves is basically, you know, how long it takes you to threats, checks, and captures. Is it an immediate one, or is it next move? Or is it the next move after that? How many squares over that change of time, change of tempo, is your queen, you know, affecting here? And so, like, we can say that development is force times a change of tempo, right? So, and we can say that another way of saying development is a change of momentum. Okay, and what's actually happened is you've development is a change of momentum. Okay, so and or a change of value by the value by the activity. You want to break momentum down, but essentially development is impulse. Development is a change of momentum. That's an easy way of thinking about it. And so that's all I want to just sort of rant and rave about. But just remember, if you can just remember that and understand that c3 move now in a whole new light. It's about creating momentum for that queen, and it's about you know, and it's also doing it with an acceleration. The c pawn's threatening to get a bit of a powerful pawn center. So black responds, and it's about getting your pieces against centers of gravity. All right, take care. Bye.